You know who I did it at the request of? The State Department. I never talked to a Ukrainian official until the State Department called me and asked me to do it. And then I reported every conversation back to them. And Laura, I'm a pretty good lawyer, just a country lawyer. But it's all here, right here.
Welcome back to Harvard. That was President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, last night defending his interactions with Ukraine. Giuliani's efforts to dig up dirt on the Bidens is a central focus now on President Trump's July phone call with the Ukrainian president himself. In one key quote from the White House notes, President Trump told the Ukrainian leader, "I will ask him to call you along with the attorney general. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he's a very capable guy. If you could speak with him, that would be great." Close quote. Well, the Washington Post reports on Giuliani's months-long shadow effort to pressure Ukraine that, quote, involved the abrupt removal of the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, the circumvention of senior officials on the National Security Council, and the suspension of hundreds of millions of dollars of aid administered by the Defense and State Departments. And one official told the Washington Post, Rudy, he did all this show that we're in. It's him injecting himself into the process. From where I'm joined by Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney. Barbara, thank you so much. Here's the, that great line in all the old crime shows was, did you notice anything different that night? Anything special happened that night? Because that always, anything changing in the norm tells you something special to that night happened. It probably has something to do with the crime that's being investigated. Those officials in the State Department, those officials in the National Security Council, for months noticed something weird was happening in our relationship with Ukraine. It had nothing to do with geopolitical defense against the Russians. It had to do with getting dirt on Hillary, getting dirt especially on Joe Biden, who at that time in the early parts of the summer really looked like a threat, more than he does today, in fact, to this president. That's what this is about. What do you make of the fact that Rudy Giuliani showing up in all these quarters as the president's guy?
I think it's a tell. I think it suggests that President Trump himself knew that this was shady and not to be done through official channels. He didn't send a government official. He didn't send somebody who works in the White House. He didn't send anybody in the State Department. He sent his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. This is in public corruption cases, you refer to someone like that as the bag man, somebody who goes and does the dirty work, has the negotiations, talks about the deal offline. If Giuliani was talking with the State Department about this mission, I want to know what's the name of the person you were talking to at the State Department. And let's put that person before Congress and talk about what the scope of this assignment was, because it sounds highly unusual.
It's interesting to make the case you just made that how he's being set up is almost a cutout, if you will. Someone separate that will keep the word to himself what he's been told to do. Rudy is probably very loyal to Trump these days, so therefore he'll do terrible requests of the Ukrainian government. I want this, I want that. I keep pushing. The way that the president set that up in his conversation with the President Zelensky was to say, this guy was mayor of New York. This guy's very impressive. This is a great lawyer. He was, in other words, investing him with this incredible authority to do all kinds of even dirty work. I know what is going on here. I know you do, too. He's telling him, deal with this guy. He's going to be a little rough, but he's my guy.
Yeah, and that is frequently the way it happens in cases of public corruption, that you have some sort of intermediary who actually has the tough negotiations. And that is a shield for the higher level person. They can say, I didn't know what was going on. They can speak in code because they have someone else who is conducting the negotiations at a lower level. It's a way to distance yourself from the dirty work that's being done.
You're so great, Barbara. But one last thought. What the hell is the name William Barr doing in Kiev? Why do they even know about this guy? What is this? The president also would say, you're going to hear from another guy. You're going to hear from Bill Barr, my stooge at the Justice Department. Here he comes.
Yeah, I don't know. And Barr himself, of course, has denied that he had any communications with Ukraine. But I think it demonstrates why William Barr should be recused from any decision about whether to disclose the whistleblower's complaint to Congress. The Office of Legal Counsel issued an opinion saying it need not be disclosed. There is a conflict of interest there for William Barr, who has an incentive to keep his name out of it and besmirching his name. And so the fact that he was involved in that decision strikes me as a conflict of interest.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.